Hey y'all, I'm Charles, I'm 29, I'm a photographer, I'm an influencer, I'm a Vanlifer, I'm a handyman, and whatever helps that band keep on going. Right now I'm inside a beautiful yurt. I'm in Joshua Tree, California, just about 3 hours from LA, 3 hours from Vegas, 3 hours from the border with Mexico. I'm in this amazing, creative, uh, filled with love space from my friend Leslie. I have been here living unofficially for the last around 3 months. I have been traveling in the meantime, but also it has been like home base for a while. Actually, the desert has been home base for about like year and a half, and it's something, man. Like the desert really pulls you. Um, I'm just getting ready to like close this chapter and keep on moving and keep on traveling because that's what I do. And I'm just making these videos to um, just to share what I'm doing, and I'm doing this from my heart. It's completely unscripted. It's completely like raw. I'm making them in Spanish and English because every language has its own magic. And I mean, as you can tell, Spanish. I mean, I don't know you can tell, but Spanish is my third language. I have an accent, and also I'm doing this because I want to reach out and like share, and if it's possible inspire. And you know I really love what I do on photo, and this is also a personal challenge. I'm not doing this like it's a way to increase my ego or to sell myself like this uh, creative successful person. I'm doing this in the opposite. I feel like an ego strip for me. Just like presenting myself like it's as um, raw and human and honest and emotional as I can, because like I feel I have gone a long way and I have learned so many things, and I just want to share that. I feel people think that like, or sometimes our own perception tricks us to believe that things are so easy, or it should be obvious that we know stuff when it's not like that. And I feel we should share, especially having such a powerful ways of communication. I'm trying to do these videos just in one take, so that's also why I have made so many videos until I can reach to this point. I'm making this with my iPhone. I'm not doing this with a crazy microphone or a crazy camera, because I feel it's about intention. Yeah, it's important to have a good lighting. It's important to have like a good visual quality and for people to understand you. But again, I'm trying to do this as raw and real as possible. And again, hopefully this is the first one of many videos I'm gonna do and share, and I hope you do like them. And also I hope this is gonna be a way to create some dialogue between like other people. I want to try this, especially like again, I think I have things to say, not only how to upgrade your Instagram game, or how to do the van life, how to build a shower, how to cook on the road, or how to be a good guest. That is things I want to talk about at some point, but you know everything at its right time. And this time I wanted to talk to you about how I became an influencer. I think I'm just gonna talk to you about how I became Instagram famous, because being an influencer can be like kinda, you know. And it's super simple. People ask me, and it's been like funny because it has happened recently. They ask me like, oh, so are you a musician? Are you an actor? Are you a writer? Are you just famous or something? And no, the answer is super simple actually. I was suggested by Instagram not only once, it was twice. And from having 2,000 followers, it took me where I'm at right now, that I think it's like 70 something thousand followers. So it's a big gap that I went through. The last one was January from last year. I was in Vegas. I was parked in the parking lot of the Luxor, and I was sleeping with my pop Nabokov in the van. We went there because it was my mom's birthday and she wanted to do a family gathering. Actually, they asked me to stay in the hotel, but I was like, why if I have a van, and why dogs are not allowed in Vegas? I don't know if you ever been there, but if you pay attention, there's no dogs in Vegas. That's really sad. it's weird. It's plain weird. Vegas is so weird. I mean, it's really cool. I love it, but it's weird. And it's funny because I had this crazy dream. I was like in a bar, like everything was wood. I was having a beer with this really cool guy. He's on Instagram also. He has also a lot of followers, and he's really good. And he's such a good guy. His username is Rodomar. I'm gonna put it on the description of this video because, yeah. And he was like, "Hey, congratulations for being suggested again." And I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, look at your phone, And then I wake up, see my phone, and I was like, it was weird because this dream felt so, so real. And I wake up, and I'm pretty sure you do the same. You wake up and just check your phone. It was that, it was like a mail from Instagram and all his followers being, and the mail was like, "Hey, congratulations, you're a suggested user." And I don't know, I was so happy because I just went through like a different part of, the van life, because it can get kind of rough and depressing if you don't have the right mindset. And just, being awarded this, being recognized by that you're doing something and something good and something inspiring and, able to share with the community. So that was really cool. The first time was I was still living in Mexico City. It was funny because I was with this other Instagram famous person called Grecia. I'm gonna also put her Instagram on the description. You should check her because she lives in Chiapas in Mexico. It's like one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I really love how she, her vision of life, and also what she's doing. She has Airbnbs, and it's really cool. And so the thing is that I remember at that point we're sharing this space in Roma, Mexico, and we celebrated I was suggested user by having some pretzels. That that's the way you celebrate things, pretzels. And I don't know if I really talk about this, but for me, Instagram is not I used to use it like everybody. It was like my dogs, my food, my travels, shitty filters, instead of being curating what I was sharing. And for me, it made me realize that it's your vision of the world, and I think that's the magic of it, because you can be with friends, you can be like 3-4 different friends in the same place, and we all can be taking photos, and nobody's gonna take the same photo. And if you do, that's kind of sad. If you just are seeing what somebody else is taking, and it's also like nearly impossible, but whatever. So the thing is, I really like that. It's ability to share, no matter where you are in the world, your vision of things, and that's really magical. Nobody's gonna see the same sunset with the same eyes. Nobody's gonna take the same photo of the sunset, and everybody's gonna approach something different. Maybe somebody's gonna take the photo of the sky. Maybe somebody's gonna take photos of the mountain. Somebody's gonna take the photo of how the flowers, the light reflects on them. And also creatively, it's a getaway. It's it inspires you. It pulls you forward, and of course it's. I always say Instagram changed my life, because if it wasn't for that push forward that I had, and all the inspiration of the van life, I wouldn't be here at all. I don't know where I'll be, and that's one of the things I will never think. I feel thinking about, oh, if this happened or if I did this, I just find it like so boring and so like time and energy consuming of thinking about that kind of stuff. Because you're here, dude, like just enjoy it and don't regret the bad things, but what can you do? Just keep on moving and learn from that and be a better person. And that's how I got. I mean, again, like it's really simple. In a small box, it's really simple how I got it. But it also requires something before, a lot of work before, to be able to be a suggested user. And that's the other thing I want to talk in another video. How to create your Instagram game. And all these things I've learned through all this time. And also, I used to give photo lessons, so I have a tip or two that I think people can get some advantage from. And the other thing I want to talk is about how I got from being that city rat to be a desert rat or to be a van lifer. That I love to be in nature. I love to camp. I love to, just being able to be in my van and look at the stars no matter where I am. I feel like city is so time and energy consuming. Yeah, it's beautiful and you can learn so much, but again, like even parking is a drag, traffic is a drag, even going to the bathroom is a drag. Again, it has so many beautiful things, but I don't know. I'm in that point right now where I just prefer to be in nature, and it's a a gathering of things. I was really lucky that when I was like around, I don't know, like 18, 19, or maybe 20, I was living with his cousin. He used to be a lawyer, and he just got tired of being, on the dark side of the force, and decided to stop doing that. I was living with him, and he told me, take this time to realize what you really want to do. At that point, I think I was like a brand influencer for different projects by this agency, really cool one called Sicario. And like I used to party a lot, and I was like a different kind of influencer. And then I had this chance to realize that the thing that pushed me forward was photography. I already went to At that point I already went to 3 different colleges, to 3 different careers. The first one I'm not that good at saying it. It's architecture, or whatever however you say it, whatever that. I also went to law school, and at the end I went to study industrial design, and that's where I like first had my first real photography lessons, and it was love at first click. And I don't know, like it was something I really wanted to learn before, but because live I couldn't do it, and I was lucky that I was able to realize I wanted to do that for live when I was like 18. I think I was 18. So by now it's been like 11 years of doing photography, and it's the axis of my life. I always say that, and uh, it's also really funny because at the beginning I wanted to do like fashion photography. I was really inspired by Helmut Newton and even Terry Richardson, his dad, and all these names I can't say right now because I don't remember them, or they just gone away. So it was for me that. I also love doing portraits. That is something that I really love. I just love taking a camera. It takes me somewhere else. Just being able to look at the light to it's like for me it's my smell the flowers. For me it's that take the photo. And then I used to have this big apartment that used to be my studio in Mexico City, and again, like the whole plan was to be a fashion, but life takes you and pulls you to different places. I had a chance to work. I mean, among all the magazines I collaborated or I was published, or there was the main ones. I used to work for the BBC for a magazine they have called Food and Travel, and obviously it's about traveling and eating food, and eating especially delicious food. It's one of the best gigs. Also, like it's really hard. People don't realize that. People think it's just like, oh yeah, you travel, you get pampered, you take photos, but it requires a lot of work. Especially the magazine doesn't have that much budget, or you have to face limitations. The limitations are good because they push you creatively. If like again, from wanting to do fashion, I was doing like food photography. That if you know a little bit about this, it's really complicated actually. I mean, probably you know this by now, but the photos you see in magazines and stuff of food, usually it's not food. And for what we were doing, it was real food. It wasn't that prepared. The chefs usually didn't know where we were going that day, by lack of communication, or but they didn't know where we were going, so they were pushed to present something beautiful that same day without that much notice. So it was really interesting. And I don't know if you know this, but sometimes, I mean, it's really challenging because sometimes delicious food looks gross in photos. So it's interesting to solve those problems, and also like solve things as illumination and doing everything there without much prep. And I was doing food photography. I was taking photos of the cars we were sponsored by. I was taking photos of landscapes. I was taking portraits of the chefs and the managers and all these kind of people involved in the industry, in the service industry. And obviously that expanded my life, expanded my vision. I remember that when I stopped working there, I went back to, the city. I went back to being all the time in the apartment, and I was like, oh, dude, I really miss traveling. And luckily I was able to work again, with that same boss, and then she moved to work from the BBC. She worked in Newsweek, a magazine that doesn't exist anymore. I think it's only online or whatever. And then I was working with her also in a Mexican magazine called Tequila Apasionado, or Tequila Passionate. And again, it was really cool because it's, if you know a little bit about, like the service industry, especially in restaurants and stuff, they drink a lot. So you drink a lot. So it's really funny, and also you eat delicious food, and I don't know, like it really brought my perspective because it's something that we do every day. The eating, the drinking, I don't know, it's up to you. But I feel we don't give them enough importance to it. I mean, it's kind of cliche, and you have heard this so many times, but it's about how you are what you eat. And it's true. I remember this time, it was the first trip we made, and it was like the first hotel we went to. And this chef gives us this amazing, super simple plate of meat. I think it was Kobe meat, but even though it was cut in small cubes, and I just remember like cutting it. It was so soft, and then eating it, and my mind blew apart. It was like and like even though at that point I think I tend to be big, and I don't remember. But I have eaten meat all my life. I grew up with meat. And then suddenly I eat this that I have never tasted in my whole life. And it's not like any meat I ever ate. And it wasn't because the meat per se, it was how this guy cooked it. And that's, when I realized how poorly sometimes we treat ourselves, how like, I feel it should be, I mean, I don't want to sound obnoxious or, like disconsiderate with, some people's situation, but we should really eat deliciously every day. We should really force ourselves to at least try it, or like be more mindful about what we're eating, because it's one of the only arts that fully satisfy all your senses. The other one I'm gonna talk in another video, but and again, it's something that we don't give that much importance, or we just take for granted, or we don't put our time into that, or our energy, call it money or whatever. So yeah, that was like the second factor about, what fueled me to travel so much. And the third one is that at some point, I was living with my dad, after living alone or on my own. It was funny because I was gonna live with him for 3 months, and that ended up being 3 years. I mean, I really love living with my dad. It was really an amazing experience. The thing is that I was going through a low, and suddenly we decided that we were gonna start a food truck. We were gonna sell ice cream, coffee, and pastries. I think, that's a winning combination. And we bought this Ford E250, a 77. It was really, really big. It was like, it had a high top. I'm 6'1", or 184 centimeters. And I was able to stand up, like I had to bend a little bit, but it was really tall. And we cut a bigger window, like one of the sides completely lifted. It was really rusted. This van had been in the beach for like around 11 years. It went all the way from Canada. It stopped in Sayulita, it's in Nayarit, in Mexico, and it ended up in Mexico City. So it was really rusty. It was a real project. At the end, what happened is that, my dad he's a surgeon, he's a doctor, he's ears, nose, and throat. So he has to work on his own thing. He got surgeries and stuff, and at that point also I was, like recovering from that low, I was getting more gigs, and suddenly, I had to do my own thing. I had to be a photographer. Because if you know, service industry and food industry requires a lot of time and energy. It's not like you just can't leave it to somebody, because you really have to be there. Uh, Again, it's really an art. So what happened is that the band, just got fixed. We removed most of the rust, and I ended up doing it. I started like this herbology slash permaculture project. So I used to use it to transport my plants, from the house to the place I used to store the plants, to the studio, and back and forth. And then after that, it was the whole craziness about the van life. So I started using the van for trips. We did this trip to Sayulita, actually. It was like 8 people in that van. It was like completely empty. It was completely straight. It was just like the structure. 8 people in a van, and it was incredible. We had this sponsorship by this mezcal called Meteoro. It's so good. So we went to the beach with a bunch of mezcal, and it was a really amazing experience. And then we also did another trip to a festival called by Ben, I think it was called, with other influencers. So I don't know, from being on the road, being in this band, and I already knew, that the axis of my life is photography and traveling. So I started thinking, maybe I can simplify life. I can, get rid of all these things, and stop going to endless meetings that go nowhere, or hanging with people that are only there because they're gonna get some profit from you. And I completely could picture myself in a van with the door open, eating from a bowl of fruit with my dogs, just next to the beach, eating from it, just listening to the waves. And like, here I am in the States, living here. And it's amazing. I really love it. Again, like, it's the best decision I could ever made. I have learned so many lessons. It has been tough, really tough at some point. I have made things that I really regret, but also I have been learning, and I think that's the whole purpose of life. And I'm really happy. Even being happy, it's a decision. It's a daily work. So I hope you like it. I hope I didn't bore you. I tried to do this as short as I can, but as you can tell, I'm not that good about it. And I would really love to hear your comments. You can, like, leave a comment on the video. You can send me a private message, or you can, like, contact me on Instagram or whatever. Again, these videos, I don't expect to make a book about this. I don't expect, to get a massive following base on whatever platform I'm posting this. I'm just doing this to share it, to be I don't know, to share this knowledge and all this love, and be as honest as I can. And also, like, this, the whole purpose is me creating a dialogue. I just don't want to be another voice getting lost there. And even, like, if this influences or inspires one person, that's awesome, and that's the only thing I want. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you and hear from you soon. So peace out. Thank you.